Hi, very good afternoon to all. I'm Vidya Vijay, Assistant Professor, BMS School of Architecture, Yelahanka, Bangalore. BMS School of Architecture is the eighth institution under BMS Educational Trust and has the distinction of being established as an independent school of architecture in the year 2010. I'm proud to share that this is one of the first independent NAC accredited independent architecture school in Karnataka and ranked 38th in NIRF in 2024. So we, BMSSA, in collaboration with Webinar Park, presents 5-day online FDP on hands-on LaTeX. And this is a program starting today, that is 3rd of February till 6. We will have the session from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. And then the last session will be on 8th, again from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. So now I welcome Ms. Apoorva Honnegowda, Roopa, she to our BMS School of Architecture as a resource person for the online training program on hands-on LaTeX. Ms. Apoorva has an MS in computer science and with a specialization in AI, and she is an accomplished AI developer and a trainer. We are equally thankful to our director, Ms. Shaila Bantnur, Dr. Shaila Bantnur, for providing all the support to arrange this 5-day FTP. So coming back to Ms. Apoorva, she has rendered her surveys for global technology giants like Amazon and has provided consulting and technology solutions to globally to many research institutions. And I welcome Apoorva for this 5-day hands-on LaTeX. It's also my pleasure to welcome all the participants to this eventful session on LaTeX document preparation system. And I'm sure that it will be knowledge-packed session and efficient while writing articles and research papers or thesis, etc. So enable us to deliver quality academic deliverables. We should be exploiting technology and utilize this offerings. So deep diving and understanding the features, capabilities, and offering of LaTeX as a tool will be certainly beneficial for us. So furthermore, I'm sure that Ms. Apoorva will touch the base on AI technologies and its offering for academic and learning and development supports. So now, once again, I welcome Ms. Apoorva to this to our BMS School of Architecture as a resource person for hands-on LaTeX. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the introduction. Am I audible to you all? Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, perfect. All right, let's get started with LaTeX. I would really appreciate if it was a very interactive session. So there will be minimal PPTs. As the title suggests, we will be working on hands-on. Do not worry, we do not need any installation. We will be using an online platform. Okay, so before we go to the hands-on part, let's set the mood. Why should we learn LaTeX? Okay. Let me share my screen.
Hello, ma'am. Is everyone able to hear you?
No, we can see the screen, but she's not audible.
Apoorva?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think the mic has just okay. All right. So what is LaTeX? LaTeX is just a software to write beautiful documents. Now, if I were to write a document such as the one seen here, right on the right hand side, I would open a Word document and start writing. right? To all you people out there who have used Word to write an article or a paper, what are some of the disadvantages that you have faced? Anyone? Some hiccups that you have faced with using Word? You're all very happy with Word?
The word works fine. I'm sure.
Sorry, sir?
Hello.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
Word. This is Ranjit. Word works fine.
Uh-huh.
It's just that's the job what it is expected to do. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so currently, okay, let me share my experience with you all. So currently, I am trying to write a book using Word, rather Google Docs, to be honest, due to the publisher constraint. However, if I had the opportunity, I would definitely use LaTeX. Now, the reason is one of the major challenges is something very simple, is just labeling sections, right? So unless, like, you have the numbered list and things like that, unless you use a third party extension, it is hard to kind of like uh, it is not advisable to manually write in the section numbers, because as we all know, we write a draft, we go back, add a section here and there, so we would want the numbers to be dynamically updated. Another thing is alignment of figures, right? Even if I place a figure, I would want a figure number, a figure to be labeled, and then I would want that figure number to be referenced elsewhere in the document. So, Word is good, but it is very generic. It is made such that it can be used anyone who is using Word software for the first time to anyone who's an advanced computer science programmer. So it is very generic. However, LaTeX, on the other hand, is made with the idea that, okay, if you are writing a research paper, I'm going to let you focus on writing the content and not worry about the styling. Now, we are researchers, our design aspect, at least for me, is a bit weak. Like, we do not want to spend too much time as to what will be the font size for my section, what would be the font size for the title, so on and so forth. Okay. Another reason why LaTeX has become popular in spite of its steep learning curve, in the initial steep learning curve, is that the publishers can just give their styling in form of something called as a template, and all you have to do is incorporate the template in your document, and then the styling is fixed for you. So you don't have to manually match the styling to the publisher that you would want to submit it. Now, having said that, now, if you see the left-hand side, that is the LaTeX code to generate the corresponding text, obviously it might feel a bit daunting. Rather than just opening a Word document and started typing, okay, this is all the content that you would want. However, once we learn the fundamentals of LaTeX, things become easier, and the commands that we use to generate this pretty looking document becomes easier to use, okay? Now, couple of differences between using Word versus LaTeX. Word is something called as what you see is what you get. That means you start typing in your document, what you are seeing is the final document, right? However, in LaTeX, what you will be typing is this, and what you will be getting is the document on the right hand side. Okay, so this translation might take some time of getting used to. Okay, and we will see some of the intricacies that come with this separation, okay, of the content from the styling and things like that. Word is obviously easy to use because you start typing in, but once you go on to the research side, Word starts like showing its drawback. Okay, LaTeX, it has an initial steep learning curve, but once you familiarize, it becomes easier to use. Another problem with Word is it is messy for large documents, right? Have you ever tried, say you're writing a thesis and obviously you have a lot of chapters. So say you would want to put each chapter in a small Word document of its own and then combine it all. If you do such combining, Word does the combining in a very static format, meaning, say you have chapter 1 doc, chapter 2 doc, chapter 3 doc. Now, if you combine them into one big final document at the end, right? So what happens is Word takes and pastes the contents here in a very static way. That means if you go back and make any changes in chapter 1, it is not picked up by this final document. However, LaTeX makes this combining in a dynamic way. Rather than copying, it will pick up the content dynamically. That means if you make any changes to your chapter 1, it will be picked up in your final document as well. Now, again, coming to Windows, right? It is at the end of the day a paid platform for especially other operating system users, right? However, LaTeX is open source and it can be easily used across platforms, right? When we write a document in Word and try to open in, say, Libre or some other software, it all the formatting and everything goes for a toss. However, LaTeX, say something that you have created in LaTeX, because it's open source, it can be installed easily across all operating systems and everyone can have consistent formatting throughout. Word, another thing is appearance and content are tied together. That means when you copy a content from, say, a website or another document and paste it in Word, it is a high possibility that the font and everything gets copied. I know that you can do paste without formatting. However, sometimes when you pick up content from a third party, there will be some link assigned to a text, all those gets copied, right? So what happens is when you are working on a Word document and you have a lot of collaborators, it is possible that someone by mistake can inject font discrepancies, okay, because the styling and the content are tied together. So when they copy and paste it, even the styling gets copied. However, in LaTeX, you minimize such font inconsistencies because the appearance and content are separated. Okay, how it's separated and things like that, we will look into it as and when we code along. Now, coming again to the differences between Word and LaTeX, in Word, you have an extension of the doc or the docx, right? In LaTeX, we have the extension of .tex. So on the left-hand side, whatever you see, this whole document has the extension of .tex. Now, a .tex contains all the LaTeX dependent code. So that means we need something in our computer or laptop to understand these commands, right? This LaTeX commands, or even to understand what is this .tex extension. So to do that, if you would want to use LaTeX locally, you would have to perform some installation so that your computer understands the .tex file and also the LaTeX commands. Now, when you are performing installation, you will install two things. One is the LaTeX distribution and the other is the IDE. Okay, let's talk about the LaTeX distribution. LaTeX distribution is just the code that helps your program to understand .tex file. So without this, even though if you have the IDE, without the LaTeX distribution, your computer will not know what LaTeX is. Okay, so your first step is to install the LaTeX distribution. Now, based on the operating system that you are using, you can install the corresponding LaTeX distribution. Okay. The popular ones are MikTeX, right? I think it's cross-platform as well. However, for this session, we will be using an online platform called Overleaf. We will get to Overleaf shortly, but let's just continue for the local. For us to use LaTeX locally, what else do we need? The IDE. Now, you can open just a notepad and start writing your LaTeX commands and save it. As long as you have the LaTeX distribution, it will be able to pick up the commands. However, we would want to make our life easier. So the IDE will help us write LaTeX code easier. This is a snapshot of one of the IDEs. I think it might be Text Studio, right? So what you get is all this bunch of nice looking UIs, a shortcut for adding LaTeX commands. It also has this options to automatically complete the commands for you, right? And also to suggest commands for you. So all these at the end of the day helps you to write LaTeX documents quickly. So use an IDE. There are many available. These are some of the famous ones. As I said, for this session, we will be looking into using Overleaf. Overleaf is an online platform, so we do not have to install anything. We can just head over to Overleaf and start creating a first LaTeX document. So let's take a couple of minutes to set ourselves up to use Overleaf. Okay. So let me paste the link in the chat so you all can head over to Overleaf. Okay, so once you're here, if this is the first time you're here, click on sign up, right? And you can sign up to Overleaf. Alternatively, if you already have an account, you can just log in. This says sign up for 3, so just say login. And do the test. I think that's fine. Okay. All right. So once you log into Overleaf, obviously, because if it's the first time in Overleaf, you will not see all these projects, right? You will have the option is to get started. Maybe in the center of the screen, it might have a create new project option. Okay. So anyone having trouble with Overleaf? Are you all able to create your account?
Participants, so you can install Overleaf and start working on it. Let us know if there is any problem in signing up.
All good? Okay. So let's go ahead and create a first project. Okay. New project. We have a bunch of options here. For now, let's go ahead and create a blank project. Okay, so I'm going to name this 2025 Feb LaTex FDP. So think of this as your folder name, and you are welcome to give any name to this particular project. Okay. All right. As soon as we create, we get this particular pre-filled file. Let's clear it out because I would like to build it step by step. Okay. So were you all able to create your first project?
Yes.
All right. Now, so as there are like bunch of things happening here, right, on my screen. So let me take you through it. On the left-hand side, we have the code editor. This is where our LaTeX commands or your code goes in. And then on the right-hand side, I know it says no PDF, but here is where the output or the final PDF is shown. Now, when I write some code, I would want LaTeX to pick it up and see if it's right. And if it's all right, I would want a PDF to be generated. Now, to do that, I need to click on the recompile button. Okay, so the recompile button takes in your updated LaTeX code, sees if there are any error. If it's any error, it complains. Otherwise, it generates the PDF. Right now, I have no code, and that is why I says no PDF. It says this compile didn't produce a PDF, rightly so. Now, the file in which I'm writing the code is called main.tex. As I said, LaTeX files have the extension .tex. With this knowledge, let's write our first LaTeX document. Okay. Now, any LaTeX document, whichever it might be, is made up of three fundamental commands. The first is the document class command. The document class command, basically, we use it to tell LaTeX what type of document are we creating. Are we creating a book? Are we creating a report? Are we creating an article, a letter, so on and so forth, right? Now, in the first line, I start with a backslash. All LaTeX commands start with this backslash. Okay, so I say document class. So do you see how I get suggestion? If I were to type this code in a notepad or anything, I wouldn't get these features, right? So document class is the command name. And remember, all LaTeX commands start with the backslash. So it says backslash command name. Now, many commands will take an input in curly brackets. For instance, in this case, I need to tell this document class command what type of document am I creating. Okay. So in the input to the command, I say article. Now, why do I need to tell LaTeX what type of document I'm creating? The reason being, an article will have a different format than a report or a book. So, based on the type of document that you're writing, the way your content is displayed in your PDF changes. Second, the commands available to you also changes. For instance, if you are writing an article, you will only need sections. However, if you are writing a book, you will need chapters. So, when you are writing an article document, you will not be given the chapter command. Okay. So, two things: document class control, the way your document looks, and second, what commands are available to you. Okay. Apart from this, the other two commands are begin document, end document. Okay. So these three commands form the basis for any LaTeX document. Okay. So let's understand these two set of commands. This is basically, these two commands are tied together, a begin and an end. These two commands define what is called a LaTeX environment. Now, what type of environment are we creating? That is given as input to the commands. So here, backslash, because all LaTeX commands start with backslash, begin, we are telling, okay, we are beginning an environment. What type of environment? That goes as input within the curly brackets. So we say document. Now, once an environment is created, it needs to be ended. So we indicate the end of an environment using the \n command. And again, what type of environment are we ending? It says end document. Now, we will look into different type of environments when we are dealing with lists, equations, figures, tables, right? For now, let's look into this document environment. These three commands split our LaTeX code area into two parts. This part, that is the space between the document class and the begin document, is called the preamble. The preamble is the part of the document where we do our setups, right? Where we do our declarations, which affects the entire document. Okay. Now, the space between the begin and the end document is the main document region. So, if you would want anything to appear in your output PDF, those content needs to come between the begin and end document. All right, makes sense? So, if I were to display the phrase hello world in my output PDF, can anyone tell me where this content should go to? Should it go in line 2 or line 4?
Line 4.
Line 2.
Yes, because if you would want anything to be in the output PDF, it has to be between the begin and end document. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to a document. Okay, and in the main document area, let's write hello world. All right, perfect. Let's hit recompile. So we have some output produced, right? Let's zoom in a bit. Right? So whatever I put here gets outputted in my output PDF. So we will look into the document class and the next steps further. So let's just take a detour and understand how we say LaTeX. So far I've been saying LaTeX or LaTeX. Those are the two pronunciations. Now LaTeX is built on something called as the text. So the commands that you see here, the begin document and other commands that you see here are the LaTeX commands. However, LaTeX sits on another form of coding called text. Now text, what it did is it had a lot of commands. However, none of them were user friendly. So if you were to say do a small thing as creating a section, you would have to group together a bunch of commands to create a begin section. Okay. So that is why LaTeX was built. LaTeX, what it did is it took up the text commands and made them much more human approachable or human readable. So I know that the commands that we have here still feels a bit foreign. However, the command names are very easy to use, right? Like begin, end, document class. And later on, we will see how to create sections. All the commands are very intuitive. Okay, so this intuitiveness is the advantage of LaTeX over the tech. So we have coded our Hello World document. The next thing that we would want to do is adding our title, author, and date. Okay. So let's start with just the title. In the document that we have here, the title usually goes in the preamble because the entire document has like one main title. Okay. So the setting up for the document, we do it in the preamble. Preamble is just the area between document class and begin document. Okay. So title, again, the command is very intuitive, \title. The input to the title is the title of my document. Say we can just say my first LaTeX document. So usually when you write LaTeX, we write it like this. So the L is cap, A, T, E, X. Okay. So this tech just says that it's built on the tech software. And LA, people say it's like the name of the creator, Leslie Lamport. Yeah, LA is for Lamport. So that's why we say LA. And again, we have a capital T, E, and X. And this X is kind of like considered the Greek symbol. That's why we have the K sound, LaTeX. Yeah. So I have put my title in the preamble. Now, I've recompiled it. Why do I not have a title in my output PDF? Anyone? Remember, if I want anything to be in my output PDF, where should the content be?
Between begin and end.
Begin and end. So I have put my title in line 3, which is correct. So I need something to tell LaTeX, okay, you know what? I have a title command and its content needs to be picked up and put it in the output PDF. To do that, I'm going to come to line 6 and do a command called make title. Okay. So whenever I say a command, make title, you should always assume that it starts with a backslash. All right, let's recompile. Right? So now I have the title. Now, did I explicitly mention the font size for the title? No, I didn't. Right? So let me zoom out. So this is how my document looks like, the entire document. You can see how nicely the title has a bigger font than the rest of the document, than the hello world, right? So this is what I mean is the advantage of LaTeX. All the styling comes out of the box to you. All you have to do is give the context for the content, meaning I need to specify that this particular content is the title using the title command. So the challenge here is just like knowing the command to use. And as we do more such examples, it will become easier for you. Okay, at least to look up what the commands can be. Now, here I have just given the title. Yes, the font size for the title was automatically chosen, but what else was automatically given to us?
Date.
Yes, the date information, right? So I nowhere have I specified the date. And when I executed the make title command, by default, I got the current date, today's date, right? So that tells me that there is a date command that is getting executed by default. Now, if many a times we would have a specified date for a document, if you would want to hard code the date, then in the date command, you can give a date with the format that you like. Say, I would want to give 11 January 2025. Now the date command just picks up the correct font size to display the date. That's pretty much it. Okay. And it's nicely centered and everything for you. For some reason, okay, for some reason, if you don't want the date, right, if you don't want the date, you can suppress it. Okay. So let me show you another variation of date command. Okay. So what I have is, I have a date command, and to that date command, I'm not passing any inputs. So thereby, I'm suppressing the concept of date in my output document. All right. Now, before I execute it, I would want to talk about comments. Now, comments are just a LaTex way of letting the coder write inactive code, meaning, you see this particular line, I started with this percentage symbol. As soon as I put a percentage symbol, this line got deactivated, meaning it's in a different color than the rest of the line. Okay. So if you have like different versions of the code and you want to test it out, you can keep only one version of the code active by commenting out the rest. When a line is commented, LaTeX will not execute it. It is non-executable piece of code. You can also use comments to improve readability of the code. For instance, say you have a command, you would want to write what the command does. So say this is the title command. Right? You can improve readability. We will look into how we can use it in non-trivial situations as well, but this is just a small, simple example. So either to deactivate code or to add readability to your code, you can use comments. And comments always start, the lines start with the percentage symbol. Now, if you would want to comment out a block of code, all you have to do is select the code and click on these control slash. So click on control slash together, right? And it will comment out the whole block. This is something called as the toggle comment shortcut. That means if you select a bunch of lines and hit this, it will comment it out. However, if the selected lines are already commented, it will uncomment it for you. For instance, so these lines are already commented, right? Now, if I select them and click on control, so if you are on Windows, it will be control slash. If you're on Mac, it will be command slash. Okay. So as soon as I do control slash, you can see everything is uncommented. So this helps because you do not want to go in front of every line and put the percentage symbol, right? So let's see how this empty date command behaves. Let's execute it. You can see the date disappears. Now, I know that even when you do not give the date command, we get some default date, which is the current date. However, it is always a good practice to avoid such silent behavior. Right? Even if you want just the current date to be displayed, you explicitly mention it in your code, because in the last minute rush, right, you might assume that you do not have date in your LaTeX code, right? So to avoid such things, it's nice to explicitly define the behavior of the document. Okay, so inside the date command, I'm giving another command such as today. So we'll come back to that. Let's see what the output will be. All right, you can see the behavior is similar to when we didn't have the date command, right? It just gives us the current date. In this case, we have a command inside a command, right? So backslash date backslash today. Now, when you see a command inside the command, always work yourself from inside to out. Okay, so this today command is just basic LaTeX command that just gives us the current date. So internally, what happens is LaTeX will first see the today command, replace it with today's date, Feb 3, 2025. So internally, this is the command that gets executed, and that's why you get this particular output. So when you have a command inside the command, always work from the inside to out. Replace the command by the output it's giving, and then evaluate the overall command. Okay. Any doubts so far?
No.
All right. Let me just quickly check the chat as well. All right. So we have the title and we have the date. What are we missing? The author. Okay. So the author, as like every other command, it just starts with the functionality of it. So it's backslash author. The input to the author function is the name of the author. So for instance, I'm just going to put in my name, say Apoorva. Okay. So let me recompile. You can see that the author name is placed between the title and the date. All right. So let's now build on this author information. Now what I would like to do is underneath the author name, I would want the email ID. Say abc@gmail.com. Right? So the key observation to be made here is we would want the email to go to the next line. Now, if you were in Word, what would you do? You would create you just put enter, right? You would say enter and then you would put in your email ID, right? So let's see what happens if I do something like this. So even though in my code editor, I have a line between Apoorva and abc@gmail.com, right? It does not like push the email to the next line. In fact, I'm now getting an error because I separated it by a line. So even though Apoorva is on line 1 and abc@gmail.com is on other line, it does not reflect it. So this is the thing which kind of frustrates beginners a lot. We put enter in code editor and it does not translate the same way in the output PDF. So what we need to do is, in order to tell LaTeX, okay, I need you to go to the next line and start typing whatever comes next. We use this double backslash. Okay. So the double backslash basically tells LaTeX, okay, whatever comes next should go to the next line. Do you see how as soon as I put double backslash, the abc@gmail.com just went to the next line. Okay. Say underneath this, right? Underneath this, I would like to put in a phone number. Okay. Say 1234, whatever. So how can I go about doing it? Anyone would like to take a guess?
Yeah. So after email, double slash.
Yes. So we need to put double backslash, tell LaTeX, go to next slide, and then we just fill in our
Number.
yeah. Right? Many a times we have multiple authors. Right? So say Vidya ma'am is my co-author. right? How do I do that? Now, if I just say double backslash Vidya, right? It just adds to the same column. Now, if you were to add multiple authors in your word, what would you do? You would put a table, make the borders invisible, have two columns, right? Then you would fill in the details, right? So we don't have to do all these, but we still need to tell LaTeX that this is second author details. So for that, we have a specialized command. We can just say backslash and. Okay. So once you are done building one author's information, you can indicate that whatever follows is another author's information by using the and command. So if I recompile, you can see it will start a separate column for the second author. All right. Now, again, can you tell me if I would want to add the email ID for the second author? How would I go about doing it? So
We
just like
go to the first email ID and
Mhm.
we go to the first email ID and do backslash and then.
Okay, so the thing is, just like what you're telling LaTeX is, I am done building first author information, start with second author information. So we do not have to go back to first author information. We can just do whatever we did before again. So double backslash xyz@gmail.com. Now, if I recompile, you can see that it has been rightly placed. Now, say I would like to add another author name. How do I go about doing that? Any cases? So how did we start adding the second author name? By using the and command. So if I would want to add a third author, I just have to say backslash right? Backslash and then give the third author name. So third author, all right, let's just say person 3 or author 3. You can see another column has been created. Or 3@gmail.com. So the key idea is whenever you would want to start a new author, indicate it to LaTeX by using the and command. And in order to fill each author's details, if you would want to go to the next line, just keep on using double backslash. When you are done filling the author's name, just do backslash and to start another one. Okay. And note that all these go within the flower bracket in itself. Okay. Is this clear? Would you more like if it's not, if you have any doubts, I can explain a bit more.
So how does, if we have, let's say 4 or 5, what I'm trying to understand is if there is more people, it will keep aligning one below the other, or it will start moving
Yes, it
haywire.
will go to the next line, the margins conditions, right? So the thing is like usually publishers will take care of how, so for instance, say and, so let me just copy this again. So So you see how it goes to the next slide. So it has this internal margins defined.
Okay. Okay.
And this formatting will vary from template to template. Right now we are using the basic default LaTeX template. Towards the end of the workshop, we will try to use templates either from Elsevier or like IEEE, one of them, whichever you guys would want, and then we can see how the formatting varies. Okay. For now, this is the default behavior.
Okay. So here the second line
Mm-hmm.
is slightly off from the first line. So how does that correction happen?
So in this,
There's a slight offset from the first Apoorva and the second Apoorva.
okay, let's just zoom out and or let's just do fit height. Okay, this one, right?
Yes, the second Apoorva, the entire detail, Apoorva,
Mm-hmm.
second email ID is slightly off from the first one.
Yes.
The A's don't line up together. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the default behavior here is it is trying to get this like a lower triangle structure like this.
Understood. Understood.
Okay. So we can edit this behavior by forcing it to do some margins and things like that, which is a bit of an advanced topic. And mostly
Understood.
when you are working with publishers, all this will be done for you. Okay. Um, right. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is many a times we kind of like have this asterisk, right? In few papers it will be asterisk, few papers it will be 1 2, right? So the thing is we would want to add some footnote associated with the authors, right? So the how to do that, say next to Apoorva, let me just comment this out. So like, you know, we only have like one line. Right. So next to Apoorva, I would like to add a footnote. So I would like to say, well, basically, I'm the speaker. Okay. So, or you would, if you were writing a paper, we would want to like say, you would like to thank some organization, or you would want to say this person was in this department, anything, right? So there are multiple things that you would want to add footnotes regarding, right? So say, right next to Apoorva, I've started this command called thanks. Okay, so thanks adds a footnote next to the author in a way such that if you have any footnotes later in the document, it will not be affected by the numbering that thanks uses. Okay, now different publishers have different ways to go about it. For now, we will just see how the default LaTeX behavior is. Okay, so inside thanks, I would basically want to say, say speaker. Okay. Right. So what happened? As soon as I compile, let me zoom in a bit. Ah, right. So you can see an asterisk has been added right next to Apoorva's name, and down below is the footnote. Right. So we can also put anything, right? Say in association with PMSSA. Okay. Right. You can see whatever input that you put inside the thanks command will be in the footnote, and the font size and everything has been taken care for you. In fact, LaTeX can be customized to a very large extent. Like if you do not like this line that comes above the footnote, you can have it removed and things like that. So customizations are endless. We will look into how to customize a document to some extent later on, but yeah, this is the default behavior. And another thing happened, you can see wherever I've put the thanks, right? there is a asterisk or a symbol associated, and the same symbol is used in the footnote. Now say I go to next to Vidya ma'am's name and I again say thanks. Okay. So coordinator. Let me just say. Is it ER or okay? It's suggesting. Okay. All right. So now, obviously, when we have like two different things, many a times we do not want the same symbol to be associated, because how will the user differentiate between the two, right? So you can see, so LaTeX has this internal list of symbols that it uses. You can see it's like this cross symbol here, it's down here, the corresponding symbol is used. So LaTeX has this default list of symbols that it uses to add footnotes to users. So it just keeps rotating across those lists of symbols. So the many thanks you use, it just goes one symbol on the list, and when the list is exhausted, it just starts from the beginning. Okay. So this is how you add like any footnotes associated with any of the authors, just using the thanks command. Okay.
Um, excuse me. So this
Yes.
is Renjin. So we've written hello world, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did there was I put this backstroke and
Mm-hmm.
said thanks, and I wrote a name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the
Like
footnote
how we did.
appears. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm just trying to write like this.
Yes. Open parenthesis. Then
Mm-hmm.
let's say RENJIN. The
Okay.
parenthesis RENJIN.
Okay. Okay.
So for me, it's coming hello world Renjin.
So the thanks is
Yes.
context dependent, right? So it works in the author command. It's to be used within the author command. Now, in your document, if you would
Uh,
want a footnote, you would use the footnote command. Okay. So this thanks is context dependent. It sees where you are using it. It is meant to be used in the author command to kind of like you put the footnotes next to authors. Okay.
okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So shall we move on? The next thing that we'll be looking into is the abstract. Okay. So the abstract briefly summarizes what our paper is all about. So right after make title, so make title handles three things: the title, author, and the date. So all that you would set up in your preamble, the title command, the author command, and date. But to actually make it appear in your output PDF, you need to use the make title command. Now, in order to add an abstract, we start off with this O leaf is giving suggestions. Okay. Begin, and within the begin command, we need to say what type of environment it is, right? That we have already established as we have done in document environment. So here, what are we trying to do? We are trying to create the abstract environment. So we start by saying abstract. Okay. So begin, end. Now, within this, here we will summarize our paper. Okay. So now what did this add for us? Right? So here, a nice little abstract title has been added, subtitle rather, right? And it has been like made boldface and everything for us. And whatever contents that we give here will be in our abstract section, okay? So let me make it multiple lines. Okay, so it's just giving me suggestions to improve my writing. That is because of this write full. Okay, let's hide the suggestions for now. We'll come to that later. Okay. So let's say this is our first LaTeX document, and we will be exploring the fundamental concepts of LaTeX. Okay. So whatever you put in your abstract section, right, in this abstract environment rather, between begin and end abstract, it will be shown in our PDF with this particular font, okay, with this particular styling. So that's pretty much it for abstract. So you can like add as much content would you want. Like if you want to make it fancy, like say instead of using LaTeX, you can use \LaTeX. Okay, so what this does is, this is a symbol command. You can see this command. Let me zoom in a bit. Yeah, you can see the difference between the LaTeX command and us typing LaTeX, right? This is the LaTeX symbol, whereas this is the LaTeX me explicitly typing it. So there are commands that generate symbols for us, such as one such thing is \LaTeX. Now this command, even though there is a space between the command and the document word, you can see the space has been swallowed here. Let me show that again. So you see I have the document, right? Even though there is a space between the LaTeX command and the document, it is absorbed, it's not showing. Okay, let me add another space, see if it shows. Again, let's add multiple spaces. Okay, so it's still not doing anything. Even though I'm like putting multiple spaces, nothing is happening. So how can I overcome this? So what you can do is you can just use empty parentheses. Okay, so empty brackets to absorb the space, yeah, and then give us the space, explicit spacing. So if you feel a command is absorbing the spaces in spite of you putting explicit spacing, then what you do is you just end the command with empty curly brackets. So all you're saying is this command takes no input, so do not eat up all the empty spaces that come after it. Okay. But even without the command or this thing, even if I put like multiple spaces in my code editor, if I recompile, right, you can see there are no multiple spaces in the corresponding output in the PDF, right? If you see here, there should be multiple spaces between will and the word be. However, it is not so. This is because LaTeX just assumes this is a mistake. So even if you put like 10 spaces, say, you will only have one space. Now, if you would want to say it's not a mistake, but you would want to generate, you would want to force this particular spacing, then you can do so by using a command called headspace. Okay, so you don't have to worry about all these commands now, but just wanted to show what the default behavior is. So if we put multiple spaces in our code editor, it does not translate so in our output PDF. So to force that behavior, we need to use separate commands. Because LaTeX does not know whether it's a mistake or whether, like, many a times it is possible that we have put two spaces, right? It happens while typing in Word. However, in the output, there will only be a single space. Okay. The same goes to new line, meaning enter. So for instance, let's say, hello world, this is my first document, right? In Word, what we would do is we would put like enter and start typing another paragraph. This is another paragraph. We compile, right? So you can see that if I put multiple lines like this and then recompile, it does not work so. Okay. Now, say I just put, this is my first document in line 1 and just put enter and start my another paragraph. Right? So this does not start a new paragraph. The problem is I have to force an empty line between two paragraphs for LaTeX to understand, okay, whatever comes in line 35 should be on the new line. Okay, this is another paragraph, some more content, right? Now, if you're coming from Word, this might feel a bit weird to you because you would want a new line to be added between hello world and this is another paragraph. Even though this is another paragraph is starting in a new line, there is no empty space, right? There is no empty space between the paragraphs themselves. So to do that, you need to use the vspace command. Okay. So just like headspace, vspace forces vertical spacing. Okay. So you see this is nothing but we would want the spacing in this direction. So vertical spacing. Now you can put the input in terms of inches, centimeters, right? Points, right? Let me just show. Let me say 1. So the default, right, it says needs illegal unit of measurement. Okay, so let's say 1 inch like this. Right, so I still need to have the new line for it to show. Okay, it has to go to the next line. Okay, taking a bit to compile. Okay, while this is compiling, let me just quickly see. There are some questions in the chat. Can you please paste the code here? So what I can do is I can share the code. Okay, so you can just have this code in this other tab, right? So whoever is would like to copy paste, okay? Whoever would like to copy paste the code, you can just use this link, open the code and like copy paste. There's a question regarding can we change the symbol? I'm assuming to the person who has asked, can we change the symbol, ma'am? So I'm assuming you mean like using thanks symbol. You're getting like different symbols, right? Do you mean that particular symbol?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you can change it using something called as packages in LaTeX. Okay. However, usually your publisher will like take care of it because they will have a predefined set of symbols that you can use. Okay. However, you can change it using packages. Okay. We'll look into packages later, maybe tomorrow. Yeah. Right. Let me also look into the question here in the Miss Simi, could you like formulate your question? Like I know that you have um, so are you not able to see my screen clearly? So there are multiple messages in the chat. Like 2 people have said that they can't see the left side of the screen properly. If anyone can unmute and let me know if you can see my screen properly.
Yeah, I can see your screen. I think if you zoom in a lot, then you will only see one screen, especially if you're using a phone or something.
Okay.
You need to double tap and sort of unzoom it.
All right. Thank you for please everyone, if you're unable to see the entire screen, just check if you have zoomed in. If you have, just zoom out and take a look at it. Okay. So it has recompiled. So sometimes what happens is when you recompile, maybe due to network issues, it does take some time because it's compiling elsewhere, right? You can see that a 1 inch of space has been added between the um, 2 paragraphs. Obviously, we do not want this. Okay, so what I would want is one empty space, right? One line worth of vertical space. So what I can do is I can just say line width. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So so I can do 0.5. I think it's called line space. Let me just check that. Illegal undefined control space. So we can just use line width as well, or text width. Let's do okay. Give me a minute, I'll explain it to you. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do 2 things. One is force a paragraph, and the second is to add empty space, empty vertical space between paragraphs. Now, to force a paragraph, we have already seen that in the code editor, we need to have an empty line between the paragraphs, right? So basically this particular line. Now, to add vertical space between the paragraphs, we need to use the vspace command. The vspace command, the input is how much vertical spacing would you want. You can give it in centimeters, inches, or you can give it dynamically based on line width and text width. Okay. So these are some commands that LaTeX keeps track of in a document. Okay. Now, if you go to different publishers, the range, the width of the line, that is the amount of space taken by the line varies, right? So the particular unit that is assigned for the line to take is stored in line width. Okay. Now text width, it happens so that like sometimes we can have multiple columns, right? So that time the region where the text runs is much smaller than the line width, and that is stored by the text width. So instead of explicitly hard coding it, instead of hard coding the values, what you can do is you can use such commands which will dynamically give you the width of the lines or the text. Now, it is possible to take a fraction of the width or the line width or the text width. Okay. So for instance, if I just put backslash text width, it will take the entire measurement that's given. Okay. So if you see down here, it's there. However, if you give 0.5 next to text width, you only taking half the measurement. So you can see the distance has reduced. So you can give in any fraction up until you are happy with the vertical spacing. Okay. So if you see here 0.025, it looks pleasant enough. So we can stick with this. Now you can achieve the same thing with static measurements like as 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches or 0.5 inch, whatever it might be. However, you can do it dynamically as well using commands that store some unit of length, such as text width, line width. Okay. Now, my question to you is, if I remove the empty space in line 35 and I execute the code, will I still get a new paragraph the way I have here? So I'll give a minute for you all to try. Right? So in this new version, will we still have the same output? Okay, let's execute it and see. If I compile and execute, you can see that the lines, the two lines that I have a vertical spacing of whatever I have mentioned here. Right? Whatever I've mentioned here, the two lines have that vertical spacing. However, the paragraph split is not working, right? Because remember, a vertical space command is not a indication, is not an indication to LaTeX that I need to start a new paragraph. What is an indication to LaTeX as to start a new paragraph? An empty line such as this, such as line 35. So I need to add an empty line between paragraphs to show, irrespective of I'm using VSpace or not. Okay, so VSpace is just an add-on, right? So we can come back to it later on as well. But note this, if you would want to start a new paragraph, you need to have an empty line between the set paragraphs. Okay. All right. Any doubts so far regarding the paragraphs? Or do you want some time to execute the code? Please let me know. All right. Okay. So let's just look at our document, right? In its entirety. Okay. So this is how our document looks, and it's coming along. However, I'm at the stage where I would like to organize the content in my document. All right. So one of the organization tools that we use for an article is section, right? So we would like to put related content in sections. To create a section, we can do \section, right? The input to the section, any guesses? So the input to title was the title name, right? So what do you think would be the input to section? The section name, right? So let's start off with the section introduction. Okay, perfect. Now, as soon as I start creating sections, do you see on the left hand side, this file outline starts filling up? Okay. So it's just another way of like seeing all the sections, subsections quickly using the overleaf. So this is something related to overleaf. It's just like helping you see the sections in one shot on the left hand side. Okay. Now let's start building contents in our section. So this is the introduction to LaTeX. So let's use the LaTeX command. Okay. So if we execute, you can see two things happen. One is a section has been added called introduction, right? And then we automatically have a section number, right? So now if I had another section, say related work.
Just a minute, ma'am. Is everyone able to see?
Let me just shift back.
I think there is a time lag, I guess.
Are you able to hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can
So
hear
I
you,
just
but
wanted to, no, I just
yes.
wanted to check if it's the internet my end or their end. So that's why.
So actually what I can see in the screen is section backslash and S, only S. What about others?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. I think the screen is frozen for all of us.
Okay, let me stop sharing and share again. How about now?
It's taking a while.
Okay.
Is everyone able to see?
No.
You're still not able to see?
No.
No, it's still a blank screen.
Okay, let me just leave and join again. Just a second.
Meanwhile, participants, the WhatsApp group link is being pinned within the chat. Please log in through the link. The one which is shared in the mail is wrong. So please try to share it, join the WhatsApp group using the link which has been pinned in the chat.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet.
Is it still doing the circle thing? Like the loading
Actually,
thing?
nothing has been seen.
Because
Is
for
anyone
me,
able to see?
No.
No.
Vidya, I think you have to give her presenting right.
It's been given, but then
No, I think you have to, because she logged out and came in again, you might have to do it once again.
okay. How about now?
yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. I moved to Chrome. I don't know why Firefox had an issue. Anyways. Yeah, let's just backtrack for a couple of minutes, like, regarding the first section that I created. All right. So as a section, right? So the command to create a section is \section, right? So this is the state of a code of the output PDF, right? If I add section and the input to the section is the section name, that is introduction, right? So we can say this is an introduction to LaTeX, right? So if I execute, so just a side note, either you can click on recompile, right? Or you can use, do you see recompile the PDF, or you can hit command enter. Like if you just hover on that, you get that recompile the PDF, or it's command enter for me, or it can be control enter. So you don't have to click on recompile every time. You can just click on control enter or command enter. Okay. As soon as I do that, two things happen. Okay. A section has been introduced, and also a section number has been given to us. So if I just create another section, say, related work. Right? So LaTeX is built on tech, okay, which is a lower level programming language. Okay. So if I recompile this, you can see another section has been added and a section number has also been added to it, right? So LaTeX has this internal counter, right? Each time a section is introduced, each time it sees a section command, it increments the counter and puts the number. Okay, so the idea is Just a minute, please. Okay, the idea is a section command comes across. Okay, what is the section counter? Because this is the first one, the section counter has the value 1. We put that number and whatever is the title is put right next to it. Then whatever comes below the section command, we keep on adding it to this particular section until we come across another section command. Now, when we come across another section command, LaTeX will be like, okay, fine, I need to increment this counter. It increments to 2, and then whatever input that we give to the section command will be written right next to it. And then whatever comes below the second section command will be associated with the second section that we have just created. And it will keep on adding to the same section until we create another section. Make sense? Can you all see my screen? There's no issue regarding that, right?
Yes,
No,
we can
see
see.
the screen.
Okay.
So just one thing. So now when you create a section introduction, so automatically it comes as number 1 introduction. So can
Yes.
we avoid this number?
Yes, that's a very good question. So you would want an unnumbered section, right? So any attribute, any like asset in LaTeX that has numbering associated with it, it can be suppressed using the asterisk symbol. Okay. So what we can do is we can go back to our section, say here, let me create a new section, which is an unnumbered section. Okay. So if I just do this, right, we get section 3. However, we don't want that. So what we can do is right next to the section, we can use the asterisk symbol. Okay. The asterisk symbol just says, okay, do not give section number. Do you see how as soon as I put an asterisk symbol right after the command, the numbering is suppressed. So this syntax is kind of like you can like carry over to subsection, subsection, figures, anything that's numbered. If you want to suppress the numbering right after the command, just put the asterisk. Okay.
Okay.
Now, so now let's talk about subsections, right, and subsection. By default, Python only gives you 3 level of organization: section, subsection, subsection. However, you can use, with the use of packages, you can increase the number of levels. Okay. So for instance, let's say under related work, we would want to say subsection, say we would want to go more into tech, okay, the tech language. Developed by nodes, successful in creating technical books, reports, and articles. Right? So now what we would ideally want is, if I under the related work, we would want to have a subsection, say 2.1, and the name of the subsection. So if I recompile, that's exactly what we get. Okay. You can see how I can zoom in a bit, right? You can see how the fonts, the sizes change. All this you would have to do it manually. And the second thing is, even the section number you would have to put manually, right? So you can either use third party extensions to kind of like generate these based on the headings. Heading 1 can be subsection, heading 2 will be subsections, right? That's how you would do in Word or Google Docs. However, here this is much cleaner because you're defining the context using commands. Now, can anyone tell me if I would want a subsection without numbering, how can I do it? So I would want an unnumbered subsection. So if I execute this, obviously I have the number section 2.2 because this command is nowhere different than the other command, right? So how can I suppress it? Anyone? How did we suppress our numbering for the section? Right after the section command, we use this asterisk or star operator, right? So here too, we use, let me check if anyone has answered in the chat. Okay. So they have not. So subsection is the command for creating the subsection. If you want it to be unnumbered, we need to suppress the numbering using asterisk. Okay. You see, as soon as I put an asterisk next to subsection, the numbering disappears. Okay. Now, as I said, it is possible to have 3 levels. Like say under tech, we would want to create another subsection to talk about the motivation. Okay. So subsection, subsection. Okay. So let's say motivation. What motivated Noor to develop tech? Okay. Right, you can see because motivation is a subsection, it has the numbering 2.1.1. Right. So let's just take a look at this whole thing. Right, this part. So we have a section. Underneath this section, we have a subsection, and underneath the subsection, we have the subsection. So each of the commands are pretty intuitive, right? If you want section, you just do \section. If you want subsection, you do \subsection. Now, again, my question to you, how can I suppress the numbering for the subsection? Anyone? Again, there's a message saying that you can't see the screen. Is it so?
No, we can see the screen.
Okay.
You just need to zoom in and zoom out.
Oh, it's keeping. I mean, is my screen zooming in and zooming out on its own, or
no. On if I'm using my phone, I can zoom in and zoom out.
Okay.
So it must be that.
Okay. Vidya ma'am, there is a message in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, we can see it. We can see it. I think it is the problem with the user, I guess. Maybe as Ranjan said, maybe you can zoom in, zoom out. You'll be able to see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, request you all to ensure that you zoom out. And if you are still unable to see the screen, because many people can see, maybe you can just change the browser, like, yeah, from one to the other. Anyways, coming to suppressing number in subsection. Can anyone recall, like, how can we suppress the numbering in subsection? So how did we do for the section? Right after the section, we put asterisk. For the subsection, right after the subsection, we would put asterisk. So similarly, if we would want to suppress the numbering in subsection, we would have to so let's say unnumbered subsection numbering is suppressed. So right after the subsection command, we need to put asterisk. That's it. So this works throughout. Any entity that gives us numbering, if you would want to suppress the numbering, put asterisk. Okay? Is this clear? Any doubts? Right, let me quickly look at the chat. Yeah, thank you. Many people have replied in the chat. Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, nice. All right. So we have our sections, our subsections. Let's see how our document looks when if we go back to a document class and change the type of class that we have. Okay. So far, in the beginning of the session, we said one of the things that document class does is it controls how we display our document, right? So let's go here, and instead of document class, let's say report. What happens? Right? So in an article, everything will be like sequentially filled up in a page. However, in a report, you will have a title page, right? With all the title information, the author and the date. You have an abstract page, and then something is different here. If you remember in article, when we use document plus article, we started with section 1, introduction, 2, related work. However, here we have 0.1, 0.2, 0.2.1. Why is that so? This is because of the hierarchy in organization. In article, the hierarchy for organization is section, subsection, and subsection. However, in a report or a book, the organizational hierarchy is chapter, section, and subsection. Sorry, subsection. So there's only 3. Okay. So what it's doing is usually chapter gets the outermost number 1, and section will get 1.1, and subsection will get 1.1.1. However, in article, section will get the outermost number, subsection will get the number after the point, and the subsection will be something like this. Now, in our document, we do not have a chapter command, right? So, LaTex has not encountered a chapter command. Therefore, its chapter counter that it uses for numbering, it's still at 0. So any section, subsection it it encounters, it will be 0.1, 0.1.1. And that's what you are seeing here as well. Because our chapter, we do not have any chapter command in our code, in our LaTeX code here, the counter is still at 0. So our first section will be 0.1, second section will be 0.2, our subsection will be 0.2.1. However, you can see motivation has been enclosed in the subsection command. We do not have any numbering. Okay, because by default a report or a book gives us only 3 levels of numbering, from chapter, section and subsection. So subsection does not have any number associated when your document class is a chapter or a book. Now let's rectify this. This is 0.1. I do not want it to look like that. So what I will do is right before my first section. Okay, do you see in line 40 I have the section command. So right before that we will use the chapter command. Okay, much like the section command, the chapter command, we just give the title of the chapter and that is the input, the chapter name. Now if I recompile, right, so this is the default behavior of chapter. Now chapter command not only adds the chapter number as well as, so one is the chapter number and the other one is the title. So let me just say first chapter, yeah, to avoid confusion. Right, so chapter number is chapter 1 and first chapter is the chapter title. Now apart from the numbering and the title, the font size and all of it, the chapter command does another thing based on, like, you would have seen books, right? In books what happens, anytime you need to start a new chapter, you start it in a new page. So whenever LaTeX comes across the chapter command, it creates a new page. You can see you could have as well filled up all the content here, right? Right after hello world, this is another paragraph. No, the default behavior of the chapter command in LaTeX is create a new page and then start writing your chapter. Okay. Now you can see all these 1.1, 1.2, all this makes sense, right? Now what happens if we shift to article, back to article, right? The content changes, but we have an error. Now when you have an error, you can see something called as logs, and right next to recompile you will get a red square with the number of errors. So just click on the red square. It says undefined control sequence. Okay, so undefined control sequence, where is this undefined control sequence? In line 39. If you click on line 39, you can see there is a red dot next to chapter command and it's saying undefined control sequence. Now that is because chapter command is only available to us in the report or book document class. Chapter command is not available to us in the article class because you do not have the concept of chapters in an article. Right? So that is why you need to be careful when you you need to be careful when you are picking your document class. Okay, it is not just cosmetic, it also depends, like, what type of commands that are available to you. If you are saying you would want to write a letter, you would use the document class letter. Then you have commands such as to address, from address. Say you are trying to write a question paper, right? That time you have the question command and things like that. So based on the use case, you need to pick the document class. In tomorrow's session, we will look into other customizations that we will be using, that we'll be making using the document class. For today's session, we can stop here, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. Any doubts?
Participants, if you have any doubts, please clarify it. Yes,
Hello, ma'am.
Geeta ma'am, you can unmute.
Ma'am, actually, it is not a doubt. I had a problem with my system today, so I was like not able to view the content what was there. You were sharing the screen. Only at the nth moment I was able to see. Can you send the recording, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I'll check and let you know.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any doubts? So, Ms. Apoorva, shall we wind up today's session then?
Yes, ma'am. So for today, you will not have any assignments. So starting tomorrow, you will have like simple assignments that I will share with you at the end of the lesson. If you can just implement it and work on it, that'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, there is one question in the chat. Can you repeat \v space?
Yes, sure. So there are two things, right? How you would want, um, let me zoom in here a bit. Okay. Say you are writing multiple paragraphs in your document. Okay. So how you would do is in Word, you would go here, right? Hit enter, then you would start writing your next paragraph. Now in LaTeX, right? Say this is another paragraph. I would want it to be in the next line. So I hit enter and I click recompile. So the problem is LaTeX does not recognize this single enter as another paragraph. If you can see the output here, hello world, this is my first document. This is another paragraph, right? So it's all in one line. So in order to force a new paragraph, we need to ensure that the two paragraphs in our code editor is separated by an empty line. Okay. Now you can see this is another paragraph has been forced to the next line. However, if you would want some vertical spacing, okay, say if you would want some vertical spacing between the two paragraphs, you can enforce it by using the vertical space command. Okay, so you can just say \v space, and the input to v space is the length of the space that you would want. Okay, say let's say 0.5 inch. Right? You can see there is some space added based on the unit of length that I have given as input. So V space adds this vertical spacing between two lines. The input to the V space is the length of the line, length of the spacing, sorry. There are multiple units of length that you can give: inches, centimeters, point, right? However, you could also give to input of vSpace commands such as line width, text width. Line width and text width contain the current width of the line. Obviously, this is too big of a vertical spacing. So say I would like to pass a fraction of it, say half of the line width. So what I do is I just say 0.5 \line width. So instead of having a static value, I'm just dynamically taking the length value from another command. That's pretty much it. Okay. Now again, this is still too much. So we say let's do 0.05. You can see that the vertical space further reduces because we're taking a smaller fraction. Say we would want 0.025. right? So it can become smaller. So V space is just controls the vertical spacing between two lines. The input to V space is just how much of vertical spacing would you like to be introduced. You can introduce using inches, centimeter, points, or you can take a fraction of the values in other present in other commands such as line width, text width. Okay. We will look into line width and text width again when we are dealing with figures. So if this part is a bit confusing, at least the takeaway should be, what does vertical space do? It just controls the vertical spacing between two lines, right? And the input to V space is the amount of spacing that we want, right? Hope this is clear. Okay. All right then. I hope to see you all tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Right? Ma'am, that's it from my end.
Yeah. So all the participants before leaving tomorrow, please join 1:20 p.m. so that sharp 1:30 we can start the session. And please join with the registered name. Thank you. Thank you, Apoorva, for today's session. So you have initiated with the first session of hands-on LaTeX. So I hope it is interesting and we can continue with the session tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
ma'am.
to all participants. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll see you all tomorrow.